here comes to our last speaker is Mr. Dr. Cheng Shu from Feng University. So let's welcome Professor Gao to talk about how technology changed humans' behavior. Let's welcome Professor Gao.
President Shelton, Chairman Liu, Jeremy, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I'd like to thank you all to give me this opportunity. You know what? It's very interesting. This is the first time in my life, I have participated so many conferences, summits, and forums. This is the first time I feel I'm a stranger. 99%, in other words, simply speaking, among all of you, I only know one person, Mr. Zhang Jiming. So this afternoon, when I walk in, I felt, wow, really, I know nobody. Of course, Jeremy, I met once only. And now I still wonder, what's the main reason why you invited me to give a talk this afternoon? Because when Dr. Liu, you said, this industry is entering the college, okay, then I consider I'm still in the preschool, not even the kindergarten, But I want to thank all of you. I want to thank GSA because I learned the reason why I accept the invitation this afternoon, mainly because I've been teaching in the universities for more than 30 years. And this world is changing. So education must be changed to meet the new challenges. And so I'm brave, and I come. I give a talk, maybe provided some different opinions. But this afternoon I have idea. When I go back my university, I'll try to make the education of your industry, semiconductor, Internet, all of this are part of a major part of the general education in our university. They have to learn. Everybody have to learn, whether they are old or young, or they major in Chinese language or in commerce, whatsoever. Because we are living in a world which, as I said, I reinterpret this word, semiconductor. When I'm sitting there, I'm looking at this word, say, well, semiconductor. You listen to symphony and you watch the performance of orchestra. We all know the soul, the key is the conductor, right? So you guys, you are the conductor. You are the conductor, well, of the future, the world. So it's a different interpretation of semiconductor. So anyway, this my feeling, and then secondly, I want to say before I deliver my talk, I'm not making any criticism of semiconductor industry. I'm not that stupid and to come here and saying something bad. No, not at all. I really appreciate the development of all this new technology. All of us, we have been benefited by this industry in terms in healthcare, in our daily life, in education. That's for sure. And I do believe, even we are encountering new difficulties, new problems, new challenges from all this development of new technology. But I do believe in the future, we must solve all these problems by better technology. Right? So, I think today, although I'm looking at the whole industry maybe from a different point of view, what I'm talking about will be mostly the so-called unanticipated consequences. Unanticipated or unexpected social consequences of this industry. Because my major is sociology and economics, so I usually look at things from a social perspective. Okay, so this is the major reason why I'm making up this title, the topic, where we're heading for a brave new world? Maybe. Although none of us can guarantee that will be a beautiful world in the future. But we have no choice. We must be brave to look at many things. Then we know where we're going. Right? Okay. First of all, I said, we all realize it's a revolution, right? And I said, it's a silent revolution. You don't see blood. You don't see gunshots. But actually, in 21st century, we know definitely semiconductors, internet, all this had changed our structure of everyday life. So in other words, it's not just the new industry, new technology, but the world, our everyday life world. It's not virtual, the real world. Right? Can you think about your daily life now without your smartphone? Now we have a problem. Because one day I lost my smartphone. Gee, you feel panic, right? You feel panic. You don't know, you just feel so uncomfortable. As a matter of fact, without that one day, of course, you won't die. But you just panic, right? I think all of us. That's true, right? Okay. But when I say it's a silent revolution, because it's a long-term and structural, and also definitely dominating. So I think all of you agree. But I think we have to let our younger generation, and all of them, whether they're rich or poor, they learn it's a revolution. You should have to face all these new challenges, whether you like it or not. And I want to talk a little bit about the technology and human society from a sociological point of view. Of course, in a society, the most important thing is the demographic structure. Okay. We're all getting old, right? Every year. From this point of view, God is very, they treat us equally. And because of that, I don't know. Of course, Mr. Beard talked about today, you give us a very optimistic point of view. I see the growing, and everything. I hope so. I really, because then economy will be better off, right? But on the other hand, Yesterday, I saw a report. We all know, I think probably some of you, you're using Samsung's smartphone. But Samsung is getting some trouble in terms of their, profit returns and so on. Simply speaking, because Samsung, their market share in mainland China is dropping extremely. Xiaomi now is the number one, Apple number two, Huawei is number three, Lianxiang fourth, and then the fifth, again, Xiaomi. So Samsung is something like a 7 or 8 already. It changed rapidly. In 2012, Samsung is number one in mainland China in terms of the market share of cell phone. Okay, but you can see now it's entering, I think the first speaker, Mr. Niles, mentioned it, because Apple, that really frees the market or, reshape, the market, the iPhone 6. Okay, so what I'm saying here is the demographic structure in this trend, the overproduction, the problem of overproduction and overconsumption. Of course, the problem of overproduction, you guys, you all know it. But when I talk about overconsumption, is what? It doesn't mean we are buying too many stuff. Well, look at our smartphone. Honestly, I'm a user, okay? Recently, I just got an iPhone 6. Well, it's nice. I really like it. But I think I'm wasting it, honestly, because I just dial the phone and receive the phone and send a message. That's it. They have so many functions. So that's funny. And I have an old one. It's a HTC Butterfly, And then one day, my students say, well, Dr. Gao, your butterfly doesn't fly. I say, how come? Because you don't use the internet on it. So you're wasting it. So your butterfly is not flying. Okay, well, that's overconsumption, Because when I have iPhone 6, of course, I put my butterfly aside. Actually, it's still functioning. Still functioning. A lot of good stuff is in it. That's overconsumption. When you talk about cars, automobiles, the same. I have a very good audio system in my old car. But then after 10 years, when 环保署pick it up and they give me 3,000 rebate, and so that's it. That's become the junk, right? It's in the car's graveyard. Well, what I'm saying is, it's not just the semiconductor industry, but as a whole, if we look at our future, I think that may be one of the major issues we have to deal with. 200 years ago, when Karl Marx wrote the book called Capital, he mentioned it. Again, now it's a new French economist called Kipit, right? Kipit. He wrote another called Capital in 21st Century, actually mentioning something very similar. So that's why the title of the book is the same. But it's strange. How come that book is become one of the bestsellers on New York Times, the book list? But anyway, this is the issue I want to make first. Then, when I talk about the demographic structure, we have to all pay attention to it. Of course, Professor Wang is he is in healthcare. It's a big market. But when I look at from a sociological point of view upon this issue, I'm using this this issue, the economist, several months ago. But I found it's although it's a little bit sad, one day, maybe we're all like that, or maybe we'll just sit there alone. So actually, this couple is lucky, right? Both of them, they're sitting there. But the conversation is very interesting. It said, thanks to us, thanks to the oldies, the world economy is threatened with secular stagnation. China's prospects are deteriorating, and inequality is rising. Then the lady said, "That's nice, dear." Well, I like this front, the cover, right? And you know why you laugh? Because it's real, right? It's real. In my family, we have 6 children, right? I'm the number 7. We have 7. But now most of the family, they have 1 or 2, right? Well, you all know that. But what I'm trying to find out is that the headline: 1 billion shades of gray. That have some very fundamental impacts upon our economy. Whether you are in semiconductor, or in internet, or in education, or in medical care, in hospital. Let me just show you one statistic. Excuse me, I didn't translate in English, but you understand this is the mortality, okay? This is the birth rate. You just simply look at this curve since 1990s in Taiwan, okay? See? The birth rate at that just not long ago, it's what? Yeah. And now it's going to have a tremendous impact upon every sector of this society. We expect 2 years later, in 2015, about half of our colleges and universities will be encountering the shortage of recruitment. Because simply speaking, not that many young students anymore. And give you another statistic. This year in Japan, that's the newest statistic, 48% of the university have the, I don't know exact English term for that, 缺额. In other words, they all have 48% of the university, they have the problem of recruitment. For a recruitment of a new student, for the freshmen. And Taiwan is going to encounter the similar. South Korea, Hong Kong, mainland China later. Not yet. Their one-child policy eventually will push the society into the similar situation. Okay, then this is a figure that you can just show you from 19,000 to 2010. That's the Japanese, what? The birth rate. So honestly, maybe we have friends from Japan here, right? You should know a lot better than I do, right? But is that right? Right. I didn't make it up. Okay. But then the important thing is, this is the consumption. This is the curve of consumption. It dropped to So please do not blame Prime Minister Abe. I think he is helpless. He's helpless. You know what? Usually, we are, in terms of consumption, around 45. The age of 45 is the peak, right? Because around 45, you have to take care of your mom, your dad, and then your children, and buy your car, your house, everything, and maybe your girlfriend. Right. Anyway, so that's the peak, right? Around 45. But then, the curve, right? Going down. So when you get older, usually you are more conservative, right? Because you're facing, you're going to retire, you're going to just simply rely upon your pension and so on. Then it drops. So the two curves, when you look at it, they coincide. It's just the curve of consumption is about 40 to 45 years later. It's the delay effect, right, of the drop of the decline of the birth rate. Okay, so what I'm showing is trying to give you some suggestions, whether we're in industry or in commerce and so on. We have to look at this. Although it's cool, but it's realistic. All right. And then, if that one is why I'm talking about the demographic structure and so on, you can see there is a kind of inequality between the old and young, and so on. And I think, well, one of my students asked me, what's the difference, what's the generation gap? I think it's easy. There are only two classes in the society. One is use line. and another class, they don't. Right? Karl Marx divided society into two classes. One is bourgeois, and then the proletariat. But now it's simple. People, they use line, or they use Facebook, or they don't use it. Right? Okay. What I'm saying is, it's changing. But then behind this, I wonder, there will be, I saw there are some American friends don't feel it's offended. I just quote this term, and I put a question mark here. Okay. And don't blame me. I'm friendly. I'm friendly. I'm so friendly to Americans. Okay. And then, but what I'm trying to say is there is a kind of a new inequality. Okay, I'm not putting the blame on American people, American industry, mainly because, well, look at this. I just came back not long ago from Europe, and on plane, it's a news from USA Today, the newspaper. Again, it's from the newspaper. I didn't make it up. And on airplane, it said, well, in Europe, it's seen as invaders. Well, is it true? Maybe not. But anyway, look at it. Apple, Google, and Facebook are dealing with strong pushback, suspicion, and even anonymity. That means, actually, if you're familiar with the European situation, actually, European governments are putting a lot of, restraints and things. And most important thing, what I'm talking about here, is people. The people. Of course, using the term imperialism may be a little bit too strong. But what I'm trying to put out is what? It's later. Well, it's not really a monopoly. Just simply speaking, because the stronger is getting stronger. Resources are unevenly distributed because like semiconductor, even I'm an outsider, I can tell it's very capital intensive, knowledge intensive, right? It's not labor intensive, it's capital intensive, knowledge intensive thing. So you can see the gap between the big and the small, the rich and the poor, the have and the have not. The gap even getting bigger. Not only among the different sectors of the society, but among all the countries. The Western Europe, North America, Latin America, Asia, Africa, and so on. So it's a new structure, but we are facing the kind of what I'm saying, new kind of inequality. When I'm saying it, I'm asking for you guys. You are the privileged group, right? This afternoon, we're sitting here discussing all these things in one of the best hotels in Taipei, Sherwood. And later, I imagine we will enjoy good food, maybe good wine too, right? We are privileged. So we are grateful. We need helping hand for other people. I think this is one of the message I like to deliver. Okay? I don't want to make it too long. But then it's another issue which is related. I've been teaching in the university more than 30 years. I feel the younger generation, not only in Taiwan, even in Hong Kong or in Japan, the younger generation, they are really feeling a sense of what I call psychologically relative deprivation. This is not a technical term. That means so-called relative deprivation is they all have their cell phone, maybe not iPhone. So they are getting more information, more information. Actually, higher expectation. But then, in reality, actually, their conditions are not improving significantly. Just tell you one fact, although it's a little bit sad. My salary in university had been fixed like that for more than 10 years. Of course, we're not too bad. But our students, when they graduate from the university, from the college, actually the salary they receive actually is lesser than before because, well, the buying power of the money is declining, right? So what I'm saying here is a kind of not the absolute deprivation. It's a sense of relative deprivation. It's because you have a higher expectation. You have all kinds of information, right? You know, this world is changing. But are they getting better in terms of their, environment, their living condition, and so on? So this is, I can see, if you look at, even in Europe, like Spain, Italy, Spain, very high unemployment rate. Okay, actually, it's a problem. And most of us, we all know, recently in Hong Kong, the movement. Wow, of course, one of the major reasons is for democracy, for the rights, okay, for the political rights. But I think the major reason is what? If you look at the movement in Hong Kong, the majority is the younger student, including not long ago in Taiwan, the sunflower movement. Behind all this, let me tell you, from my observation, it's a sense of relative deprivation. You know, because if you talk about, they are, well, in terms of their material condition, they're not that bad. But they're thinking, as I said, what are we heading for? What's their future? Not our, their future. This is one thing which I'd like to point it out. Because in the university, I feel the younger people, it seems to be such a common phenomenon. When I ask them, will you have a girlfriend? Will you get married? No, I don't think so. You know, honestly, can they survive? Have a better chance to get a good job and get promoted within 10 years than buy a house? Okay. Okay, then the next I'm talking about another social issue. That's what I call the identity crisis. It's a new issue. Why? If you have a chance to try to communicate with your children, or actually, I just give you one example. When I ask my students, are they Chinese? Most of them, they shake their head. Are they Taiwanese? Yeah, but they will say, does it matter? That's the younger generation. Like our generation, we have our identity is so clear, right? I can identify my parents, they're Cantonese. I can speak Cantonese, okay? I can speak Taiwanese. I speak Mandarin, and so on. And I was educated for a period of time for my master's and PhD in the United States. But I never identified myself as American, right? But for the younger generation, maybe if you don't like, you don't use the term crisis. But nowadays, identity getting very vague. So vague, you know. Well, on one hand, it's good. It's open. Wow. We share everything in the world, right? But on the other hand, then it's a new question. Who are we? Of course, there are some extremes. For example, you know this guy? Wow. Of course, we heard about him, but of course we don't see him. This is the leader of ISIS. It's something from Financial Times. Look at this. The self-styled caliph of ISIS who see borders as a mirage. What does it mean? You all watch the news when this group, they behead one of the American journalists. That day, I was in the United States, in Seattle. I watched it on TV. Wow. It's brutal, right? Beheading. Of course, war always is brutal. No, I will not try to find any excuse for that. But what I'm trying to show is this. If you simply look at this group, the ISIS, as a terrorist, you're wrong. They're searching a new identity. New identity. So they call them Islamic State. whether you recognize that or not. It's a new identity. It's a new identity. So, well, of course, this is an extreme, right? But then on the other hand, it's getting very, very vague. That's the situation. So, is it a brave new world? Well, in a sense, we are. As I mentioned it earlier, we have been benefited by all this development, right? We are in better life, indeed. But on the other hand, we also create new problems, new issues, new challenges, and so on. So today, when I come here, I learn from you. I'm an educator. And then I'll try to, promote all this new understanding, new knowledge. Of course, we hope we can provide a better opportunity for the younger generation. That's all our obligations. Our obligations. So, a brave new world? Maybe. Because after a long afternoon, maybe let's have something more relaxing and beautiful and happier, and make it as a happy ending. Maybe some of you, maybe you know or may not. I'd like to introduce this little girl called Amira. Mr. Beer, you know her? No? Any one of you have watched this? Well, I'm kind of a front runner, although I'm not in your industry, because this little girl now is really, he's a superstar now. A girl, 9 years old, without professional training. She sang opera in a talent show. Boy, when the first time when I heard it, she's an angel. But then, she's from Holland, right? We are in Taipei. And she is going to sing an Italian opera because of semi-industry, your technology, because of internet. We download this from iTunes. That makes the whole thing possible. Then we can share. If we look at this from this point of view, it's a beautiful world. So, let's appreciate this. Let this little girl sing a song for you, as I said, as a happy ending.
Vraag 2, wat ga je zingen?
Ik ga het liedje Ave Maria zingen.
Lieve Amira, heel veel succes. Die kant op, naar het podium.
angel, right? So, God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Gao, for the thought-provoking content. Jody, would you like to present a gift? Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.